Want to start?
I'm just starting recording, sorry. Yeah,
No,
so
that's okay.
yeah, so it's okay. It's kind of what happens a lot of the time in the holidays, right? Um,
Hmm.
I think the most important thing is just the stuff you've been doing with making building connections, talking to people, having those sales calls, getting that practice, getting
Right.
on podcasts, right? That kind of stuff is going to be the most important always.
Yeah.
Sometimes the tracking is going to slip. It happens to all of us. Like it happened to me over the holidays as well. I went back last night. I had to because of what's happening with my family. I haven't had time for admin in between calls. It's like
Oh,
I have someone to watch my daughter. Then between calls, all the tracking and all the other stuff that needs to be done and squared away. I'm not getting a spare 5 minutes to do that stuff or a spare 20
right.
minutes or whatever it is. So you know, so last night, in the evenings are kind of sacred for me. I never work at night. I always kind of
Yeah.
wind down unless I have a call in a strange time zone, then I'll do a call, but I won't do I won't do admin at night.
Right.
Um, Last night I did a bunch of admin just to catch me up, and I had to go back and check when everyone had their calls and how many people I reached out to and all that stuff. I had to plug it all in, and yeah, it took a bit of like backtracking and figuring it out.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, don't feel bad. It happens to all of us, but it's just like
Yeah.
you said, it's just about starting again fresh from today, and just let's just start a clean slate. Um, See where everything's at. Oh,
Oh, there you are.
sorry about that.
That's
Um,
okay.
yeah, so it's just having a clean slate starting from today
Hmm.
and going from there.
Yeah.
So, you know, yeah, it's just always about it's the same with weight loss or whatever, right? It's always if you went off track, just start from today, start the habits
Yes.
again, right? Build momentum again, right?
Yes.
But I want to ask,
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, let's take stock a little bit. Like, so, um, how's it looking with calls being booked and that kind of thing? Do you have any calls coming up? Have you had any sales calls recently? Do you have a lot of leads in the pipeline who you could get on a call? Where are you at?
So I actually had one on January the 1st,
Oh wow.
and and it was good. But it could have been better. And it was definitely on my part. I sometimes, so, like when we first got on the call, I think she was so excited because, you know, and I don't even, I don't, this is going to sound so stupid because it truly is so stupid. To me, I don't have a lot of followers on Instagram. Like to me, it doesn't mean anything to me. Like a number, but to some people it does, right? Like they're like, oh my gosh, she has so many followers. So when we first got on the call, she was like, you're like a celebrity to me. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm on a call with you. Like this is insane.
Wow.
And immediately I just was like awkward, like
Oh
because that
no.
didn't ever happen. I was like,
Oh,
what is
Kylie, come
happening? Like
on.
I'm so
You got to take a
so
compliment. You got to take
I
compliments.
know it was and like
All right, that's
and
interesting.
the call went fine. Like it was totally fine. Um, but I think the end of the call where I pitched myself could have been better because I almost feel like the end of the calls when I pitch, I'm very good at navigating if I'm in control, but I feel like if one thing goes off like track of what I think it should be, it almost throws me for a loop and I don't know how to get myself back into the loop of, so it's almost like objection handling. So like we've gone through a lot of objections together on how to do that. But let's say I were to get on a call tomorrow and someone throws me an objection that I've never heard of before. I almost panic in a sense because I don't know how to coach someone through. Like I'm very much a pre-planner. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. I think you're overthinking it a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah,
It
for
doesn't
sure.
matter. It doesn't matter what the objection is, right? Why are you guys on the call to begin with?
Yeah. Yeah. So I think for her, like I'll probably follow up with her next week and see. Um, I don't know, just start a conversation with her
Well,
and
I
ask
mean,
how things are
so
going since
all right. So I'm missing a lot of context here because
okay.
she's starstruck at the beginning of the call. She sees you as a celebrity. She has a lot of respect for you, a lot of admiration. She has a problem that you can solve, and but she didn't sign up. What happened?
I don't feel like I pitched myself as well as I should have or could have.
But I mean, but what did you do? Like, what happened? What was the objection? What did you say? Where did it go wrong?
So I did ask her at the end. I feel like I always kind of resort to, do you see how a structured program could be
Yeah,
beneficial for you? That's
great.
like my first question. And she did say yes, but she did say it was a timing thing. She actually said, I want to work on my foundational habits before I jump into any program. And so,
But that's what the program is.
yes.
So
Yeah.
okay, great. So there's a contradiction of logic because that's like saying I want to fix my toilet before calling the plumber.
Right.
It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the whole reason why you're overweight and you get bariatric surgery is because you have bad control of your habits. So what makes you think you can just turn on good habits like a light switch when you've failed to do so every time that you've previously
Right.
tried? Doesn't make sense.
Right.
So
Right.
that's how I would have handled that. I would have just asked a question. So in the past, when you've tried to establish these habits, how's that gone for you without support?
Right. And see, and I feel like I struggle with like asking the right questions unless I have them in front of me. So like I have my notes up when I'm on these calls and they have certain questions, or like in my notes, remember we did the what do I offer and then how that can benefit. We did like 2 columns. And I like to keep that in front of me during the call too, so that I can kind of
Yeah,
resort to that.
features and benefits. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, but I feel like if the question isn't on my list, I'm not a good like question.
So those questions are all the questions we came up with from the features and benefits table. Those are all
Mhm.
just the value driven questions. They're the questions to help the prospect see the value in what you're offering, right?
Okay.
Before you make the offer, right? So the offer is justified to make because they've just agreed that it sounds good. So then you
Mhm.
offer it, right? That's all we're doing. This is different, right? This is outside of that situation. This is objection handling, right? So this is after we've done that whole spiel with the features, benefits, and value questions. This is
Mhm.
like, okay, there's resistance. Let's explore why there's resistance. And if the resistance is coming from a legitimate place and it's like, I'm homeless and I can't afford it, like, okay, fair enough, right?
Right.
I'm not going to make you sign up to $1,000 program when you can't afford food, for
Right.
example. But like, that's just an extreme example, but you get the
Right.
point, right? It's just like there,
Yeah.
there are certain situations, or it's like, oh, my dad died yesterday. It's like, okay, yeah,
Right.
have some time, right?
Right.
Um, depending on the person, some people are like, my dad died yesterday, so I'm ready to turn over a new leaf. Some people are
Mhm.
like, my dad died yesterday, so I need a month to be depressed. It's
Right.
like everyone's different, but there's some situations where it's like, okay, fair enough. I totally get it. Let's put it on hold and let's reconnect on this date. Let's set a time in the future to have another call, right?
Right.
So, I mean, did you do that?
No. And I was just thinking too, and I don't know, like when I had that week of a lot of be do haves, I felt like I was kind of on a roll. Like I was like, these are great, like booking calls at the end, or and offering like the deposit option. Like I just felt like I was very like I had that momentum going, and then it was like a week, maybe two, where I didn't have any. And so on the first, it was like the first one where I was back to doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah, totally. Yeah.
And so I was like,
Mhm.
gosh, like that was horrible. And I wish I could have a do-over, because I just felt like I wasn't in that momentum like I had before.
Sure. This is where I think some role play could help as well. I think it's a good idea to practice in that low stakes environment. Um, something that is I'm seeing a flag, right? I'm seeing the confidence flag.
Mm-hmm.
What's going on there?
I mean, I feel Okay, so I've been like doing all of the things for me lately, like exercising more. I've been posting more about exercise. I feel very confident in those areas. Um, but I guess like in regards to business, and we've kind of talked about money before and like how money, I'm very driven by money, and I feel like success to me it is like money is a part of success to me.
Mm.
Um, and I feel like
Well, you need money, right?
right. And so, and I'm
Right.
I'm kind of doing like a comparing thing recently on like social media with other businesses that are bariatric based businesses.
Mhm.
Um, and so I feel like I'm kind of in this weird place where I'm doing great like for myself, but in regards to my business, I'm like I feel like I'm lacking something. I don't know. And I don't know. I'm not really
Um,
sure. Maybe it's because I don't have a lot of calls booked, but I also feel like too, like sometimes I question, my efforts. Like, am I putting in the effort that I could or should be in order,
of
I
course.
have these big goals for myself, but like, do my actions show it?
Well,
And
what are you not doing?
well, I would like to be able to devote more time. Like I would like to go into like the CCI website and work through those work modules like I kind of was doing at the beginning.
Mm.
I feel like it's been a minute since I've done that. And
Well, I mean, look, okay, let's slow down a bit. It's important to have some perspective here, right? So
okay.
in the beginning, you didn't have anything going on. You didn't know you didn't know what you were doing. You had no leads, you had no
Mhm.
calls, you didn't have a program really, right? You didn't have a course. Now you've got all
Right.
those things, so they're taking up more of your bandwidth, right? Booking calls and having calls and making sales, and then you've now got some clients that you didn't have before. You're looking after them as well. So your bandwidth is being distributed differently than before,
Right.
right? So you're on the journey. Success isn't like just a it's not just a a, a, a light switch. It's not just binary. It's a
Right.
it's a never ending journey. The road never
Right.
ends. It's like
Right.
you don't get there and then say, oh wow, now I'm successful. Now I can just have cocktails in the Bahamas. It's like
Right.
life goes on and things continue to you know things continue to move on, and your business is always going to be evolving and changing and growing, and so are you.
Right.
And that's going to look sometimes that's going to look different to other times. It's like I said, it's just been Christmas. It's just we're in a brand new year. It's been the holiday season, and you've still been working. You've still had calls. You've still been on podcasts. You're still generating leads, talking to people. You didn't know how to do that before,
Right.
so give yourself a break, right?
Yeah. I know. It's hard because I feel like, I've been trying to build this for like the last, I don't know, 2.5 years,
Yeah,
and
it takes time, and
I'm like,
it's
gosh,
working. It's working.
yes, it is. It is for sure. Um, and it's growing and I'm growing, I'm learning a lot and I'm, um, growing in so many different ways.
Yeah, and
Uh,
you got like you said something really interesting. You said that person on the call said that you're a celebrity to her,
mhm,
and that
yeah,
you have from her perspective, you're really big and successful,
yeah.
right? But you
And it
don't
would
see
make
yourself.
sense to
You
sell
don't
to
see,
someone like her.
yeah, you don't see yourself that way,
No, not at
right?
all.
And that blocked you from getting the sale,
Yeah,
which is really interesting because like that's totally not something that you have to carry around.
yeah. Well, I think I think it's like I'm gonna try not to get emotional here.
You can get
Um,
emotional. Go right ahead. It's
it's
important actually
like,
because there's clearly something. What I mean, where is it coming from? What happened to you in the past that made you feel like
well,
you're good enough?
well, I feel like in my mind, like I envision myself having only this business, like my bariatric fitness business. That's what I do full time. Um,
Mhm.
I make enough money to help like support my family and pay bills and do all of those things.
Yeah.
Um, but I think like life is just chaos, right? Like two little
Yeah.
hellion kids that run around
Yeah.
everywhere. I'm
Yeah.
working a
Mm,
job, like a nine to
100%.
five job to help pay for a lot of things
I
because
know.
like that's
Yeah.
just what my family needed.
You're
And so like,
TCB in, right? You're taking care of business. That's what you got to do.
yeah. And I think that like people on social media see the followers and the pretty things, and then I see the chaos. And so when someone gets on and says like, you're like a celebrity, I'm like, no, no, no. Like I'm far from that. And so it's hard, I think, for me to accept a compliment like that because it is a compliment, right? Like she looks up to me. That's basically what she's saying.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
huge compliment. And you got it when you get compliments like that, you got to accept them,
right,
right? You got to be grateful for those compliments
right,
because
right.
you care about you care about if people don't like you, you care about if people reject you.
Yeah.
Why don't you care if people love you?
I mean, I feel like I do, but maybe I just don't know how to accept that. Like I just it's just weird to me because I it's almost like when someone compliments your body after bariatric surgery. It's a super weird thing because nobody ever complimented your body until you lost the weight, became healthy, became thin or whatever. And then so many people would compliment you and it's awkward. It's like how am I supposed to like I'm supposed to learn how to accept compliments when nobody ever complimented me before, or like the attention you get, right? It's like for the first 20 years of my life, I never got attention like this. And now I'm just supposed to learn how to accept the attention, or you know what I mean? And so I feel like for me, it's kind of the same with this compliment that I got yesterday or on the
It's
first,
it's the same
where,
thing. It's just the
yeah,
same thing. So it's just an extension of your experience. So
yeah,
your belief systems are shaped by your subjective experiences, and you've experienced this same thing in another realm of your life already.
hmm,
So it's the same mechanism of not knowing how to handle when you get a compliment.
right. Yeah.
So
So I almost just avoid it. I'm
is
like,
there
can we just not?
so is it possible that your external reality your internal reality needs to kind of catch up with your external reality?
Kinda. Yeah. Like I would say
Your
sometimes I'm still my,
internal maybe your internal reality is still a 20-year-old who feels insecure.
mhm, for sure.
Well, do you give yourself permission to let go of that?
So, well, I don't feel like I tell myself to, but I don't know that I've fully done that. Because I mean, I've talked with a person once who helped with like emotions and stuff, and she actually brought up she thought that I was still grieving, like for my old self. Like,
Yeah,
um,
it seems like it.
she felt like, um, like the things that I had to go through or deal with as a person in an obese body, um, I'm dealing with those things now because at the time I was very oblivious to what was going on around me and how I was being treated because that was just my normal. And now that I see differently, I look back and it like makes me mad. I get so frustrated. And so the person I was talking to, she just thinks that I still do that.
What are you mad
Like
at?
I still, um, I am frustrated that people don't realize that they treat obese people differently than they do someone in a regular size healthy body.
Mm.
Frustrated that like people in high school, which is so stupid. I literally graduated in 2010, so I still feel like that's so dumb that I even care. Like people in high school, people that like I liked and people that I thought truly cared or liked me totally didn't. Like they like I'm very much a people pleaser. I like to help, was taken advantage of. Um I feel like um gosh, things as small as like holding the door open for someone, right? Didn't really happen often as someone who looked the way I looked. Um I was in a relationship for 4 years when I was in my overweight body, and that ended because he didn't support my new lifestyle, and so like so many things that I feel like happened, and I'm so happy now with my life, but I feel like I haven't quite let go. You know what I mean? So I feel like for me, it's like, why would someone think like I'm a celebrity? Like it doesn't make sense to me.
Well, why is anyone a celebrity?
Well, I don't know. I feel like in my head, I get frustrated because I feel like and me and my husband talk about this a lot too, because it's frustrating to me because I feel like people like people because of their outward appearance. So
Yeah,
like and so
that's
like sex
true.
sells,
Yeah, I
like
mean, let's talk about that a bit because this is part of you letting go. Letting go is about forgiveness, right? So you have to have, and that's empathy. Empathy is understanding that things aren't about you. So when you're obese and people treat you with a lack of respect or with a lack of consideration, they're not doing it because of you. They're doing it because of them, and it's not even
right,
conscious. It's a nat.
right,
It's part of nature to be naturally drawn towards the outward appearance, like you said. It's true throughout all of nature, and human beings are no different. We're at our core, we're still animals. So those things essentially govern our first impressions and our first impulses, right? And when we're out
right,
and about, impulse rules, right? Generally speaking, you've got a fraction of a second to decide how you're going to engage with any situation, and so
right,
impulses are at the steering wheel for those situations. So and our impulses are the result of hundreds of thousands or millions of years of evolution.
right,
Um, through all of history, our we ended up the way we are because enough of our ancestors didn't die for us to be here. And so
right.
we're the product of all that evolution over millennia and
Mhm.
hundreds of thousands of years, maybe even up to 2 million years. And it's the same in all other species, right? Animals do the same thing, right? Female lizards go for the biggest and strongest male lizards, right?
Right,
The ones with the best territory and the ones with the best status. Same with humans.
right.
It's the way it is. So you just have to accept and forgive that, because here's the thing: you recognize that was happening and that you didn't enjoy it, and you generally people become obese by not being responsible for their own life, right?
Right,
For one reason or another, they take the victim role, or they have the worldview that their life is happening to them instead of happening around them.
yeah,
So when you have the worldview that everything happens to you, oh, I got obese, that happened to me, right? Oh, I'm trying to lose weight, but I can't, right? That's that whole victim mindset of everything's happening to me, I can't do anything about it, right?
Mhm.
But in reality, as you know, and as you teach, and as you did, you can decide at any time to be someone else and change, because
Right,
what you do and how you think determines who you are. So that's
Mhm.
what you decided. You decided, okay, instead of these habits, I'm going to instead do these habits. Your body transformed, right? And now you get treated differently because that's nature. That's just impulse. That's just the way that not just humans, but all of nature is. It's not good, right? It's not fair, but it's just the way it is.
Right.
And it's not personal, most importantly of all.
Right.
It's not
Right.
about you,
Right.
right? So to go from being obese to being in good shape and becoming a fitness educator, no less, that takes a hell of a lot of discipline and self-realization,
Right.
right? And it takes you starting to be conscious. It takes you, it takes responsibility. It's a decision to start being responsible for how you spend your time and what you focus on and how you view the world.
Right.
So, but the thing is, there's still wounds left behind from experiences, from subjective experiences you had while you were in that state.
Right.
You were in that place of life happening to you and feeling like you don't have control of your life, feeling like things aren't fair and I'm stuck.
Right.
So you've got wounds because that hurts.
Yeah.
Because at the time, you felt like everything was being done to you very intentionally.
Mhm.
Everything happening to you is being deliberately done to you by
Right.
by the world and everyone in it. And that's not true, right? That's not how things work.
Right.
So it's a decision that you have now. You have a choice. Again, you have responsibility for your own wounds,
Right.
right?
Right.
If you take responsibility for everything in your life and everything in your reality, you'll be as happy as you can possibly be. And you'll tend to also be very successful. And you're already experiencing a dose of that.
Right.
You have sold your coaching services to clients. To you know how to meet a stranger who doesn't know you from a bar of soap, build a relationship with them to the point where they trust you to give you money and commitment,
Right.
and you then know how to help them change their entire life to become a better version of themselves because you've done that.
Right.
That's pretty special, and that didn't just happen overnight and by accident.
Right.
That's why you're a celebrity, right? What's the difference between you and any other celebrity? None. They still have kids. They still wake up in the morning and go and sit on the toilet. They do all the
Right.
same shit. We're all just humans. There's nothing special about any of us,
Right.
right? We're all
Right.
just on a little rock floating through space that could get vaporized at any moment by the sun. Don't take
Hmm.
it so seriously. It's not about you. It doesn't really matter. Just do the best you can while you're here, right? Approach your work with love. When people give you a compliment, just enjoy it and be happy about it.
Right.
Doesn't have to mean anything, right?
Right.
But it's okay to feel good about it.
Right. Well, and I feel like, and I love that you said that. Um, like allow yourself to take a compliment because sorry, I'm literally taking these off now.
Yeah.
Because um, it's almost like anytime someone compliments me, I respond with, yeah, but,
Yeah.
like, yeah, but what about this? Or
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah, you can do that forever though. You see, there's no limit to that.
right, right. It's like I combat the like anytime someone compliments me, and it's not that I don't necessarily, well, I guess it is that I don't believe it, but it's more like someone's like, ooh, I like this. And it's like, yeah, but like I still have 10 pounds to lose, or yeah, but I
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
I can't just accept it because I'm struggling, I don't know. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, the answer is simple. It's just about basically going back and just 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 go back and be in those situations. So I can guarantee you have a few distinct memories of the time when you were obese, of situations that you remember that made you feel a
mhm,
certain way, right? And you can probably label that feeling you can probably describe that feeling as some kind of feeling. You probably have a word
yeah,
for it,
yeah,
right? And so I can help you do this as well if you're open to it. This is NLP technique.
uh-huh,
Um, it's essentially just revisiting your past from an objective standpoint and then just forgiving that situation and realizing that it wasn't about you and that everyone in that situation had something to learn.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's so true. I feel like, and I'm trying to think of like specific situations, right? And this is probably, and again, and it's not stupid, but I feel stupid, things like,
What does feeling stupid feel like for you?
it feels like I care about issues that other people probably
But I mean, like, what does it
don't.
feel like in your body? Where is it? When you say I feel stupid, what does that mean? What's the feeling in your body?
Um, so I feel like so I'm gonna think back to like when I kind of started to get emotional, I can feel it almost in my throat. Like I
Mm,
can feel
that's right.
like tightness almost because I'm like just trying, I don't know, but that's just where I feel it the most. And that's where I feel a lot of emotion is in my throat. Like when I get anxiety, throat. And so I just it just kind of gets tight.
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you ever uh do you ever meditate?
Do I what?
Do you ever meditate?
No,
Have you ever?
no.
Do you know what it is?
No. I mean I'd like to think I know what it is, but I don't think I know what it is.
So meditation is the act of being. So it's
Okay.
passive being, right? So most of us in today's world is very fast paced, very busy.
Hmm.
Even when you're not doing something, you're still doing something,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes.
meditation is doing nothing. It's very
Okay.
good for you. And
Okay.
the way to do nothing, the way to be, the way to meditate is to use the breath, use your breathing as a tool. So you use your breath as an anchor for your attention.
Okay.
So you put your attention on the breath. So you watch your breath with your mind's eye. And if your mind's
Right.
eye is watching the breath, it can't be doing all this other shit.
Right.
And then every time your attention starts to wander to other stuff, it's about bringing it back to the breath.
Okay. So
But I'm
like
gonna
focus on the
actually,
breath.
I'm gonna make a training. I wrote some notes this morning. I was thinking about this morning, and it's funny. It's funny how this always happens.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm thinking about a certain theme, um, it always comes to me through my clients.
Yeah. Perfect
Uh,
timing.
yeah, so I'm gonna make a training on the importance of being, right? Because all doing, all states of doing have to come from a healthy state of being, or else
Yeah.
it's going to be non-optimal doing. You're at the action you
Okay.
take. So if you're perfect example, if you're anxious and tired, do you think you're going to have a good sales call?
No.
No. If you're anxious and tired, are you going to do good DMs?
No.
Right. If you're feeling like you're not good enough and that you're angry about getting picked on, are you going to be good at listening to someone and showing empathy?
Mm-mm.
Right. So being is emptying the vessel. So you're carrying a whole heap of shit that you don't need to carry.
Right.
Right. And it's literally as simple as putting it down. Right. It's not like, oh, I'm healing and it takes months. No, that's just nonsense. Right. Let me tell you,
Yeah.
it is just an act of surrender. Surrender and be, which
Right.
means do nothing. Do nothing. Let the trash can get emptied. And then start from just like you've done with your chart. Your sheet's gone out of whack. You've missed some weeks. You don't know what metrics you're up to. Blah blah blah. So it's like, all right, fuck it. Start from scratch.
Yeah.
That's what meditation does, but for your mind.
Okay.
So meditation allows you to take a break from being in your mind because you don't live there. By the way, you're not your mind. You're
Hmm.
actually your soul, which is in your body.
Right.
Right. Your soul is the energy that keeps you conscious.
Okay.
right? Your mind is just an organ that you use to think and solve problems and plan and analyze. But it
Right.
tries to do that with everything, and it's usually wrong about most things.
Right.
This is what we talk about with the objection handling. People are trying to run away from something they need because they're scared of losing money. That's the wrong approach. It's the wrong strategy.
Right. Well, and I almost feel like when people, sorry, this might be off topic, but when like people give me objections, um, like it almost makes me feel um, like it's not good enough. Like my program, my coaching is not good enough, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it like makes me feel like,
yeah.
you know, because, and
I know.
it sucks because I feel like I know how like valuable my program is, and I can like I'm so passionate, but like when I've
Yeah,
gone through such like a lengthy process and
yeah,
discussion with someone and
yeah,
then them to give me objections, I'm like it almost like wears me down because
yeah,
I'm like, how can you even consider your objections at this point? Like, why are your objections even a thing? And it shouldn't be a reflection of me by any means, but I allow it to be.
yeah. Because it's categorically not a reflection of you at all. It just isn't.
Right,
It's
right,
it's easy to understand how it can feel like it is, but it just never is.
right. And I feel like it's holding me back from so many things. Like, you know, there's like a great bariatric center here that's local. And I'm like, gosh, I would love to go and like talk to them, but there's no way, you know, like there's just like, so maybe I do have a belief problem that I just was trying to mask for a while.
Good. Well, what's the new belief then?
Like my lack of belief. What is that?
What's your new belief? What are we going to replace it with?
Oh, um, so I struggle with thinking. Sorry, I hate crying. I hate crying.
You haven't done enough of it.
Um,
Because
so
do you understand what crying is? I know this is a totally unusual call, and I totally get that, but it's very
yeah,
important. I hope you
yeah.
understand that this is very important stuff. And I am able to guide you through this stuff, so I'm going to do that.
Okay.
Um, so, but with your permission and blessing, I will.
Yeah, of course. Um, so I feel like, ugh, um, you know, like after my bariatric surgery, um, there was a point in time when like I was super fit. I was able to really dedicate a lot of my journey to like my fitness. And a lot of times I think, well, gosh, if I still did that, like if I still looked like I did, my business would boom. Like people would buy from me, no problem. But because I feel like now I'm in like an average body, um, it's harder for me to sell because people want to buy from people. It's like hairdressers, right? I wouldn't go to a hairdresser who had shitty hair. I just wouldn't. Like I almost feel like hairdressers are walking advertisements for themselves. And it's kind of the same thing for me, I feel, or in my head anyways. Um, you know, if I walked into the bariatric center here and said, "Hey, I'm a personal trainer and I help bariatric patients with their fitness routines after they have bariatric surgery," in my mind, I'm terrified that they're going to be like, "You don't look like a personal trainer," you know? Um, and so,
Show them what you looked like before. That's the answer here. All right. So this is my we're gonna let's put on our business strategy hat now for a second. So
mhm,
my business strategy says that it tells me that you haven't told your story enough,
yeah.
and you haven't shown your story enough.
Mhm. Yeah. No,
Right?
and you're
You
right.
got to
I
own
mean,
it,
there's
right?
a lot.
Own your journey. Own your journey. Your mess
Yeah.
becomes your message. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, there you are.
Sorry about that. I'll just pause my video to let it catch up a bit.
Okay.
You got to own your journey.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. There's a lot that I don't share a lot of. Um, I think that like, when I was my most fit, I was in therapy and I was addicted to pills and all these things. And so like I don't share a lot about that. So like one major thing with bariatric patients is transfer addiction. And so like basically you transfer your addiction from food to something else.
Oh yeah.
And for me it was like these weight loss pills. Um and because I felt like they helped me gain control of my food. Like if I could not eat, I was proud of that. And I felt like these pills that I got addicted to really helped me like just to not be hungry. And
Yeah.
so like yes, I looked the part. Like not like I best physical results I've ever had, but I was also probably the most unhealthy I've ever been. Probably the most mentally unhealthy I've ever been. And so like even though all of those things were going on, I don't share a lot about that. And you're right, I probably should.
Yeah, not probably. Like you need to share it yesterday. Like
Yeah.
that's your homework for this week. Like, tell your story. Own your
Okay.
story, right? By telling it, you're actually making peace with it, but it's also a great business strategy at the same time. So like that's you have to do that.
Okay.
I'm just going to write that down here as well.
Okay.
So tell your
Um,
story and do it often. Don't just, oh, I told my story in one post. Yeah, great, that's done. No, tell your story, make it part of your why. And it's beautiful. Like all the stuff I talk about all the time with you, it's all right there. It's
right.
all still right there. The responsibility, that's the biggest core message of your whole brand should be empowerment and responsibility. Responsibility is a yucky word. People don't like it. People don't like responsibility, but it's
Right.
responsibility will set you free. Responsibility is the gateway to success in
Right.
all avenues. It just is because responsibility requires discipline, it requires patience, it requires resilience, all the things that we have in the be do have, right?
Mhm.
It requires
Right.
organization, all the things that we know we need to be. It all comes together. It's all the fabric of your entire brand. It's you. It's you and
Right.
your story and your mission are all tied in together so inextricably, right? Talk about a time when you didn't take responsibility. Be the example. Be the example of not just what to do, but also what not to do. Because you've done
Okay.
it and you've learned and you've grown, and now you're in a position to teach others. You've got to show that.
Right. Yeah.
You're not
Yeah.
that person anymore.
I know.
It's okay to own it, and it's okay to share your journey because your journey is a really important part of why you do what you do.
Right.
That's what people buy the why. It's a business saying that everyone always uses, but it's true,
Right.
right?
No, it is.
I always talk about it in my content and with you guys, right? Less what and more why, and more who. Who do
Right.
you help? Why do you help them? How can you relate to them? How can you understand what they're going through? Demonstrate that in your content.
Okay.
No, literally, your content should be like 50% proof, testimonials, case studies, podcasts, like all the things that show authority and that show that you're legit.
Uh-huh.
And then the other 50% pretty much is just sharing your story and relating to your audience about the pain they're going through. Can you do that?
Okay. Yeah.
Good. There's no
Yeah.
reason to be scared about that or anything. It's something to be proud of,
Yeah.
right?
It is. Um, it truly is. Um,
You need to
Yeah.
be
And I
grateful, be grateful for what you've gone through, because without that, you wouldn't be where you are today.
right.
And you're going to keep growing. There's always more growing to happen. Like the comfort zone expands as you adapt to it. But the cool thing is that the more your comfort zone expands, like things that used to be outside your comfort zone become part of your comfort zone.
Right.
Like going to
Right.
the gym, you used to probably be terrified of going to the gym,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
now it's like no big deal.
Right.
It's within
Right.
your comfort zone now,
Right.
right? Your leads and your audience, they're still stuck where you were.
Right.
So their comfort zone does not include the gym yet,
Right.
but it will if they start taking responsibility. But taking responsibility, again, takes courage, it takes discipline, it takes patience, it takes resilience, it takes organization, which they don't have, which is why they need support, which is where you come in. See, it's all right there.
Right. Right. And I do, I agree. And I know it's like, there are things that I know, right? Like I can help do all of those things. It's just myself that's in the way, and I have to kind of remind myself of all of, like, just like I tell my clients to take responsibility, I have to do that too.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we all do, right? It's
Yeah.
um I sometimes struggle with being I'm a leader of my community, right? I'm a coach. So I have to be a leader for you guys. And
Yeah.
sometimes I doubt myself, like, oh, sometimes I feel like I'm not worthy of being a leader and preaching all this stuff, like talking about all these things that sometimes I fall short on. But
Right.
you got to remember, like we're all human, and the things that you're preaching are for you as much as they're for your clients. It's
Right.
not you're not giving advice from a place of superiority, like you're perfect.
Right.
You're giving advice from a place of like I'm a human on the same journey. This is what I've learned. This is what might help you as well. And this is what I'm still working on every day.
Right. Yeah. No, it's so true. And I think that, and I love that you said that too. Like, I'm sharing this because I'm also a human and I've been on a very similar journey. I just have the education to help guide you, right? Like, I understand, the struggles because I've experienced them, but I've worked through them. I've gotten to the place that I am now. And so because of that, I want to help guide them to,
All right.
you know,
So what are you going to do? Are you going to get on video and talk about it, or are you going to write posts about it, or are you going to do both? What do you think?
I'm gonna do both. So I will definitely do reels because I feel like that's just my thing on Instagram.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Reels are
but
great.
I would also really, I would like to start talking more about transfer addiction,
Good.
um, inside the bariatric community. So I think I'm gonna make like um, I don't know, I want to make like a guide of, not a guide, but like a value piece that has to do with, transfer addiction, or maybe like,
Yeah. Here's what you do.
um,
Here's what you do. Make a value piece about transfer addiction. Make the main point of it about the empowerment and responsibility. That's the draw card at the end,
okay.
right? So you can educate them about it on a cheat sheet, but then at the end it's like, well, how do we fix the problem? Well, it takes responsibility, and you got to realize that you're the one who's in the driver's seat of your own life. And you need to decide who you want to be and what kind of things that person spends their time doing, and how that person thinks about life. And that's who you have to
Right.
start becoming now. Right. So that's the value piece. And then you make a two-step post which tells your story about when you had transfer addiction and what you learned. And then
Okay.
that you can use that to frame the positioning of the value piece. Like you tell your story about when you had transfer addiction, then you talk about how you overcame it. Then you say, hey, so I've decided to create a cheat sheet on how to finally overcome the addiction in your life so that you can finally move forward to and become who you really want to be.
Okay.
Who wants a copy? Right. That's at the end.
Yeah. Okay. I will definitely do that and get to work on that. Because I don't ever talk about it ever. So, but I think it's just because bariatric patients, we get so wrapped up in the physical part of things, that we kind of get to this place where like we don't care what it takes. Like we almost take the health part out of it, but we forget that we had bariatric surgery, or we should have had bariatric surgery for the health to begin with. But we get so wrapped up in the skinny part. Like, I just want to be skinny. I want to lose weight. I want to be skinny. I want to lose weight. So we're like, we don't care what we have to do to get there. And that's where the transfer addiction comes into play. A lot of times it's alcohol. My mother-in-law was a bariatric patient and she just died, and she was an alcoholic. And that was her transfer addiction, was alcohol. And smoking is a big one because we have to kind of take our mind off of food. So we have to put it towards something else.
Yeah.
And that's, so I'm excited to kind of talk about it because
Good.
I feel like I need it too.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
So
I'm proud of you.
thank you. Sorry, I cried. I literally hate crying.
No, you're gonna honestly, crying is how you release. So emotion is just, do you know what emotion is? It's just energy moving through the body, right? So emotions aren't thoughts. They're energy that moves through the body, and that's why you feel emotion in your chest, in your throat, and your stomach. It's not it's not just in the mind, right?
Right.
So yeah, crying is how the emotion can get stuck, right? So
Yeah.
that's what the wounds are. Wounds are just unresolved emotion from a long time ago.
Yeah.
And you're still, it's like a thorn in your side that you're protecting. You're like, but every time you put a shirt on, it like hurts, but you're trying to keep the shirt away from it. And everyone, if someone tries to touch it, you just like back off, right? That's my wound.
Yes.
But you don't realize that you can just take the thorn out whenever you want.
Right. Exactly.
And so crying is a big part of just letting go, right? So, I mean, I encourage you to have a good cry. And just don't be like, oh, I'm crying, I'm so sad, it's so sad.
Yeah.
Don't make a lasagna out of it. Don't be upset about the fact that you're crying. Just if you feel yourself starting to cry, then cry until you're done crying.
Yeah.
Right? Seriously.
Yeah.
It's just like not emptying the trash. If you don't empty the trash for 6 weeks, what happens?
Yeah, it overflows.
Right. So you've got trash you haven't emptied.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, it's so true. I just think I'm very good at like distracting myself from emotion, and that's kind of been a problem for a long time. A really, really long time.
Yeah, right. That's the doing, right? That's the perpetual state of doing instead of being.
Yeah,
if you meditate, you'll probably cry because you're finally dropping into being. And it's like finally your body has an opportunity to let go.
Yeah.
I'm just going to